Dear learners, welcome to this session where we would be discussing the concept of non-governmental organization, and we would be also discussing certain characteristics related to the non-governmental organizations. Now in this session, it is very important to understand what are NGOs and how they are related to the rural development. So, the concept of non-governmental organization has been existing in our country since ages. So, we would be just concentrating on the basic concept that how they emerged and what is the present day situation regarding the NGOs. You all must be hearing many news articles or reading news articles, hearing it on television, that such kind of NGO is working for such community and such kind of NGO is working for a certain specific cause. So there are variants in NGOs as well. So we have been discussing this concept since long. Let us now discuss the history of NGOs, particularly in our country. Now, if we see the history of civil society, India has a very rich history of civil society, and this has occurred since ages. The concept of daan and seva has been there since many ages before. And if you see the mythological stories which we go around and which we see, this concept of daan has been very popular, and people individually, in groups, in families, they have been using this concept of daan and the selfless service, that is seva, quite often. And if you witness, even in our basic nature and the culture, there are certain occasions when we are told to give to the community, to the poor, to the downtrodden, which may result in the spiritual salvation or the moksha. So this concept of giving and doing selfless service has been related to the spiritual salvation also. So the materialism, the spiritualism, they just go hand in hand in our society, in our culture. So the concept of civil society is not new, and it has been there for quite a period of time, and since we are a very old civilization, so this concept has its own sanctity. Now if we see certain kind of voluntary activities, there are certain organizations which have been active in different fields. Voluntary activities have been there in case of culture, in case of health, in case of education, in case of relief measures, etc. Now if we see the concept of these voluntary activities, say for example health. Now in rural development, this kind of concept of NGOs working for rural health has been very popular, and it is gaining more importance as of now. So if you go across and if you just search the history of voluntary organizations in the rural areas or in the rural sector, you'll scan and you'll find there are a number of organizations who have been working in health sector and education sector in the rural development. Specifically in agriculture sector also, the NGOs have been quite active, and they have been providing lot of services to the farmers who do not have access to certain producers like seeds, like fertilizers, etc. So in this case, the self-help groups, which we had already discussed, they also play a very major role. So they just collaborate with certain NGOs and they work for the community. So these are certain activities which have been occurring in different areas of non-governmental organizations or civil society. Now if we go back to the history and see, in the middle of the 19th century, due to lot of turmoil and the exploitation by the British Raj, the self-help groups emerged as a main socio-political movement, and this movement led to the development of certain organizations like Prarthana Samaj, which is related to the religion, Arya Samaj, which is related to the equality, National Council for Women in India, which is related to the women issues in the country. And if you see the olden history and olden time, olden period, you will find that at that particular time, people were quite advanced to start a movement like this. Now, so the formal nature started emerging in our country during the middle of the 19th century with these organizations coming up, and they started working for a certain cause. Now, if we see that social service has always been ingrained in our day-to-day lives, and it has always been an integral part of our culture. Now, we were told since the beginning that you need to help people, you need to help your neighbors, you need to help your peers, etc. So it was a kind of social service, it was kind of a way of giving selflessly, that is without expectations. And number of NGOs, they emerged in India post-independence. Even Mahatma Gandhi proposed to dissolve the Indian National Congress and transform it to a Lok Seva Sangh, that is the public service organization working for the community. Though the proposal was rejected, but the followers of Mahatma Gandhi, they started other voluntary agencies which started working in other social fields and dealing with economic issues. So this was considered to be the first phase of NGOs in India. And after 19th century, I mean after the development of certain organizations like Arya Samaj, this phase started in the early 20th century. Now, if we see the legal status again in our country, it existed, it started its operations way back in the 19th century after the movement, the socio-political movement started coming up. In 1860, the Societies Registration Act, that is SRA, was approved to give the legal status to the growing NGO sector. And this legislation is still relevant for the NGOs, and it can be used, it is being used with amendments, and of course this is with respect to different states. Every state has its own rules and regulations. The basic legislation is the same, but the rules, certain rules have been amended as per the need of that particular states. So because the community living in those states differs. India is a very, very diverse country where even if you just go 100 kilometers, you will find different language, different attire, different way of talking, different food. So when you see the diversity, so in that case it is very important that the NGOs working in a particular locality, they adapt to those divergent conditions. So that is why the amendments, the state governments were allowed to go in for the amendments. Now with government intervention and recognition, the NGOs have been growing many folds in the country. And WANI, that is Voluntary Action Network of India, is one of the apex body for the voluntary organizations in our country. Now coming to the formal form of non-governmental organization, and that too globally. Though we have been quite active since long, and in way back in 1985, I guess, there was a conference for the women's rights in Nairobi, and the women empowerment issue started then. But if you see the organizations for the socio-political movements, even in the 19th century, we had certain organizations which were working for women's rights, which were working for equality, etc., caste discrimination, etc. But in formal form, it took place in 1945 with the emergence of United Nations, and the need was felt to differentiate between the rights of intergovernmental specialized agencies and international private organizations. So, when the United Nations was formed, which is again an intergovernmental agency, so in that case it was decided how to differentiate between the rights of these two organizations. So, they came up with the concept which was formally named as non-governmental organization. And United Nations recognizes all types of private bodies to act as NGOs. The only condition for that private body to be an NGO is that NGOs should be independent from the governmental control and of course the business control. They should not be related to the corporates, or they should not have any interference from the government. Funding is fine, sources of financing are fine, but then they are not governed. They are not actually managed by the governments or the corporates. So, this was the whole idea behind giving the name non-governmental, where you do not have any governmental control over that organization. Now coming to the second phase of NGO development. After the name was given as NGO, that is non-governmental organization, in 1960s the second phase of NGO development started, and this concept started taking its own structure, own form, and it started growing. The government programs which were prevalent that particular time were not sufficient enough to complete the task of development in the rural sectors, and many groups were formed whose role was to work at grassroots level. NGOs in rural development of India has increased considerably, looking at the government policies and emergence of self-help groups. So, this has gained lot of importance. In fact, most of the NGOs they are working in the rural urban sector. So, if you see the statistics, most of the NGOs, they are working in the rural urban sector. Now, as a concept, if we see, the NGOs are the organizations which are independent of government and business sector, and the basic mandate of any NGO is to promote and serve the public interest. That means work for the society, to work for the social causes. It is no profit making organization, and it mediates the conflicts if at all they occur in certain groups, and tries to find out the solutions. It mobilizes the volunteers and other resources to achieve certain objectives. If we see in India, there are certain other terms also used for NGOs. Apart from non-profit, non-governmental organizations, that is the global term which is used, in India we use it, we call them as non-profit organizations, we call them as civil society organizations, that is CSOs, we call them as charitable organizations, we call them as grassroots or community based organizations, that is CBOs, then we have voluntary organizations, that is VOs. So, we do have certain terms prevalent in our country, and they are used interchangeably with NGOs. If we see certain definitions of NGOs, then NGOs can be of diverse kinds. Therefore, there is no formal definition for NGOs, because each NGO has its own individuality, each NGO works for a certain cause, each NGO has its own mechanism to work. So, there is no generic definition for NGOs, but some of the organizations, they have tried to describe. Instead of defining, they have tried to describe the definitions of NGOs. So, there is no accepted definitions, and it carries different meaning in different circumstances. World Bank defines NGOs as certain private organizations that pursue activities to relieve the suffering, to promote the interests of the poor, to protect the environment, to provide basic social services, or to undertake community development. Now, if we see how United Nations has described it as a non-governmental organization, as being any non-profit voluntary citizens group where people come together on their own by choice, which is organized on a local, national or international level. It is task oriented and driven by people with a common interest. NGOs, they perform a variety of service and humanitarian functions to bring citizens' concerns to governments, that means to collaborate with governments, to advocate, to monitor the policies, to encourage the political participation through provision of information. Some are organized around specific issues such as human rights, environment or rural health, and they provide health, basically health, but in our case we would be concentrating on rural health. They provide analysis and expertise and serve as early warning mechanisms, and they help monitor and implement international agreements. Now, we know the concept of NGOs, we know how the NGOs they exist, we know what are the definitions related to NGO or how NGOs are described by certain international organizations. Now we move on to the characteristics of NGOs. The Government of India Planning Commission Policy 2007 actually defined the NGOs formally, and the formal government intervention took place in 2017 with the Planning Commission policy coming up and incorporating NGOs as one sector. So, they have defined it as organizations engaged in public service based on ethical, cultural, social, economical, political, religious, spiritual, philanthropic or scientific and technological considerations. The policy specifies that NGOs should have the following characteristics, and this is as per the Government of India norms. Since we are discussing NGOs in India, it is as per the Government of India norms. They are private, that is, they are separate from the government. They do not return profits generated to their owners or directors. They are self-governing, that is, they are not controlled by government. They are registered organizations or informal groups with clearly defined aims and objectives. Now, if we summarize the non-governmental organizations, we can say that they are kind of an independent entities and they are non-profit voluntary agencies which can be organized on a local level, national level or international level, and they undertake a wide variety of services on the humanitarian interventions for the benefits of citizens and their communities. Now, if we come back to the concept of NGOs, you would find that there are number of NGOs even working to combat the crisis situation which we are facing at present. So, NGOs have been quite active at various levels, even at the community level they have been active. Now, there are certain groups maybe of 4 or 5 members who have been active enough in a particular locality. So, they are localized in nature. Then if you have the regional NGOs, those NGOs they contact the self-help groups, they reach the self-help groups, they reach the community in different villages of that particular area or region. So, they can be termed as regional NGOs, they have a little wider scope. When we go to the national NGOs, they are spread across different states of the country and they have a little more broader perspective. Now, if we go to the international NGOs, they reach out to different countries. Apart from being localized, they reach out to different countries. Now, a beautiful example would be of that Oxfam, Red Cross. These are very popular NGOs which have been reaching out to the countries across the world, across the globe. They have been reaching out basically to the developing nations which are working on certain causes, and they are helping the community as a whole. So, this is what is the concept of NGOs, and later on we will be discussing how the NGOs can be set up. Thank you so much.